Invasive species, non-native animals, or plants that negatively affect an ecosystem, economy, or human health. Sounds simple enough, right? Wrong. Invasive species are one of the world's most challenging problems. They cost millions of dollars in damages and claim thousands of lives each year. And to make matters worse, they're becoming more problematic than ever before. Climate change is just one reason why. But what exactly makes an organism invasive? How does it happen? And why should we care? Today, we will answer those questions and more. So let's get started. As mentioned, several pests have spread to America and become invasive, causing significant ecological and economic damage. The emerald ash borer is a prime example. This beetle native to Asia was discovered in 2002 in Michigan, USA. Since its introduction, it has spread to 35 states and the District of Columbia. In the US, it is considered one of the most destructive forest insects due to its voracious appetite for ash trees. Its larvae feed under the bark of ash trees, disrupting the flow of water and nutrients, which leads to the death of the tree within 3 to 4 years. By 2010, the AB had spread across much of the eastern US, killing hundreds of millions of ash trees. Experts estimate that by 2030, all ash trees within its current range will be lost without intervention. Currently, biological controls such as stingless wasps whose larvae feed on the AB are being used to fight back. But this slow process gives the AB time to continue spreading westward into new ash habitats, leaving scientists scrambling to keep up. Another major invasive species is Asian Longhorned Beetle, a massive black and white beetle with long antennae. Like the AB, it is also native to Asia and most likely entered the US on untreated wood pellets carried from Asia on cargo ships. Since its initial discovery in New York in 2003, it has been found in limited areas of Massachusetts and Ohio. But it poses a serious threat to many hardwood trees across the United States. The bulb tunnels into hardwood trees such as maple, birch and elm, disrupting their ability to transport water and nutrients, which eventually leads to their death. These beetles can kill trees in 10 to 15 years. And once established, they are very difficult to eradicate. Because of this, experts worry that if left unchecked, the bulb could devastate forests and hardwood trees throughout much of the eastern U.S. To stop its spread, strict regulations on firewood and timber have been put in place. Quarantines are also enforced in infested areas and extensive trapping and removal programs are in place. The brown marmorated stink bug is another large invasive insect. Originally from Asia and Europe, this shield-shaped insect was discovered in Pennsylvania in 2001. Since then, it has spread to nearly every state in the U.S. The BMSW feeds on a wide variety of fruits, vegetables, nuts and crops, including apples, cherries, peaches, alfalfa and soybeans. And because it feeds on so many different plants, it is challenging to control. They disrupt pest management systems by competing with beneficial insects and also cause direct damage to crops. For example, by feeding on developing fruit, they can reduce the quality and quantity of a fruit crop. Adults can be found from late spring to early fall, often congregating on the sides of houses and other structures in large numbers. This stink bug is named for its foul odor when crushed, which it uses as a defense mechanism against predators. While not harmful to humans, they can cause damage to crops and gardens, ruining food sources for humans and wildlife alike. Moving on to invertebrates, we have the red imported fire ant. Originally native to Brazil, these aggressive ants were accidentally introduced in the 1930s in Alabama. Since then, they have spread to most of the southern United States and parts of the West. In addition to being a common household pest, their AFA is well known for its painful sting. These stings are not only painful, but can lead to serious health complications for those who are allergic to their venom. They are highly aggressive and will attack anyone or anything that invades their territory, including people. RIFAS can cause damage to crops and compete with native ants, reducing biodiversity in the affected area. Although there have been attempts to control and eradicate the species, such as the use of insecticides and biological control agents, they have not been completely successful. As of today, the rifle remains a common invasive species in the United States. Next up is the Asian giant hornet, nicknamed the murder hornet. This massive wasp was first noticed near British Columbia in 2019. It is believed to have arrived on cargo ships coming from Asia where it is native. While not currently established in North America, it is a highly invasive species that can have devastating effects on local ecosystems. The Asian giant hornet is the world's largest wasp and is known for its powerful sting. It is a predatory wasp that preys on other insects. But it can also pose a serious threat to honeybees. Asian giant hornets can decapitate bees in midair and carry off their abdomens to feed their larvae. If this species becomes established in North America, it could have a devastating impact on our honeybee populations. While there have been no reported cases of Asian giant hornets establishing a colony in North America, sightings have increased in recent years. This suggests that the risk of invasion is growing. Authorities are working hard to prevent the establishment of this dangerous species by monitoring for new sightings and taking quick action to stop its spread. The Asian longhorned tick is a relatively new invasive species in the U.S. and is thought to have been introduced through the transport of infested animals. It was first spotted in New Jersey in 2017 and has since spread to several nearby states. This tick is known for carrying diseases that can affect both animals and humans. One of the main concerns with the Asian longhorned tick is that it can transmit diseases such as spotted fevers, ehrlichiosis, and heartland virus disease to humans. Symptoms can include fever, headache, muscle aches, and fatigue. Another concern is that this tick can also transmit diseases to livestock such as anaplasmosis, which can cause severe illness or even death. The Asian longhorned tick is a serious threat to both human and animal health in the U.S. and its presence has caused alarm among public health officials. Finally, we have the spotted lanternfly. This invasive planthopper was first identified in China in 2014. It is believed that the insect arrived in the U.S. through international shipping. Since its discovery, it has spread to over 10 states and continues to spread at an alarming rate. The spotted lanternfly is a serious threat to both the environment and the economy. The insect feeds on a variety of plants, including grapes, apples, and hops, which can result in decreased crop yields and damage to trees. In addition, they excrete a substance known as honeydew, which can promote the growth of sooty mold and harm other insects. The spotted lanternfly is a voracious eater and can quickly reproduce, laying up to 30 eggs at a time. With no natural enemies in the U.S., its population has been able to explode. The state of New Jersey has been particularly hard hit with the infestation. But the insect has also been found in Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Connecticut, Indiana, and Ohio. Officials are working hard to try to contain the spread of the insect and prevent it from becoming a permanent fixture in the U.S. Spotted lanternflies are easily recognizable by their distinctive black spots on their wings and their vibrant colors. They are also known for their loud, distinctive call, which sounds like a cricket's chirp. Lastly, we have the Formosan termite, also known as the Taiwanese or Caribbean termite. This invasive termite is native to southern China and was first reported in Texas in 1965. It is believed that the termites arrived in the U.S. via shipments of tropical hardwood. Since its introduction, the Formosan termite has become a major problem in the southern states. It is considered to be one of the most destructive wood-destroying insects in the world. Formosan termites are highly aggressive and will attack a wide variety of wood, including that of buildings and other structures. They can cause extensive damage in a short period of time, weakening the structural integrity of buildings and other wooden structures. They are also difficult to control due to their size and aggressive nature. This termite is known for its large size and its ability to swarm in massive numbers. These swarms can be a nuisance, but they can also be an indication of a larger infestation. So how did these pests arrive in the U.S.? Most arrive through international trade, transport of wood, cargo or plants. Once established, they spread rapidly across parts of the country. Their impact is substantial, affecting ecosystems, agriculture, forestry, and even public health. Additionally, changing climate patterns are influencing the distribution and population surges of pests like ticks and mosquitoes in different U.S. regions. This brings us to the question, why should we care about invasive species? Well, the answer is simple. We all should care. Invasive species can have a devastating impact on the environment, economy, and public health. They are responsible for the loss of countless lives and billions of dollars in damages each year. Not only do they pose a threat to native plants and animals, but they can also cause significant harm to humans. One of the most obvious ways that invasive species can impact our lives is through the damage they cause to property and infrastructure. For example, invasive mussels can cause millions of dollars in damage to water treatment facilities each year. And invasive plants can wreak havoc on power lines, bridges, and other important structures. In addition to the physical damage they cause, invasive species can also have a major impact on the economy. For example, invasive pests can decimate crops, leading to higher prices for consumers. And invasive fish can outcompete native species for food, harming the fishing industry. Moreover, invasive species can also pose a serious threat to public health. For example, invasive mosquitoes can carry diseases such as West Nile virus and Zika virus, which can cause serious illness or even death. And invasive rodents can spread diseases such as plague and hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. That's why it is so important that we take steps to prevent the introduction and spread of invasive species. By doing so, we can protect our environment, our economy, and our public health. There are a number of things that we can do to help prevent the spread of invasive species. One of the most important things we can do is to be aware of the potential risks of invasive species and take steps to avoid introducing them to new areas. For example, we can avoid releasing exotic pets into the wild and be careful when transporting plants and animals to prevent the spread of invasive species. We can also support organizations that are working to control and eradicate invasive species. And finally, we can educate ourselves and others about the dangers of invasive species and what we can do to prevent their spread. By taking these steps, we can all do our part to protect our environment and our way of life. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and stay tuned for more. And remember, knowledge is power. The more we know about invasive species, the better equipped we'll be to prevent their introduction and spread. Thanks for watching. There's no shortage of critters that cause trouble in the garden. And when we talk about troublesome creatures, it's hard to top the small yet destructive invasive insects called emerald ash borers. These beetles have killed hundreds of millions of ash trees across the U.S. since their discovery here more than 2 decades ago. Native to parts of Asia and Europe, these insects are now firmly entrenched in many parts of the U.S., Canada, Korea, and Japan. So how did they get there? Well, partly on their own steam and partly thanks to us humans. Let's take a look at the ways these beetles have spread around the globe. It helps to know what an emerald ash borer looks like. In their adult stage, they are metallic green, shiny, and somewhat reminiscent of June beetles. They measure about ½ an inch in length with wing covers that extend just past their abdomens. The larvae, on the other hand, are white grubs with brown heads and 6 legs. They can grow to be nearly an inch long. When fully grown, they spend most of their time nestled under the bark of ash trees. That's where they feed and pupate, too. Adults emerge from late April to mid-July depending on the location. So how far can these beetles fly? Adults can fly up to 12 miles per day, which might not sound like much. But if you consider that they can keep this up for weeks after mating, you can see how over several generations, it would be possible for them to gradually spread out from an initial infestation site. However, that's just one way these beetles spread. And while it does contribute to the overall spread, it isn't the main reason that emerald ash borer has become such a widespread problem. If we wanted to stop the spread of EAB before it got out of hand, we could probably succeed. We have plenty of time. It's not like this beetle is hot on our trail. So why don't we just tell people not to pick up firewood where they camp unless they're planning on burning it there? Wouldn't that prevent its accidental spread? Of course, this advice is given and it's good advice, but it's not foolproof. There's a lot of camping, backpacking, and hiking going on out there, and we can't expect everyone to follow the rules all the time. Plus, it's not even that easy to spot EAB-infested wood. The agencies charged with finding and treating infestations spend most of their time tracking down infested ashwood products that are being moved, not hitchhiking campers. But that brings us back to the original question: how do they get around? The answer: they hitchhike. Human activity, especially the movement of infested ash firewood, logs, nursery stock, and other ashwood products across state and county lines, is the major factor accelerating the spread of EAB. Since these beetles prefer ash trees and can't survive more than a couple days off of ash, they need a way to move from tree to tree. Humans provide that way. When we move firewood or other ashwood products, whether intentionally or unintentionally, we allow the beetles to hitchhike long distances and establish new infestations far beyond their natural flight range. But how exactly did this happen? According to research, it is likely that EAB arrived initially via wood packaging materials such as crates and pallets imported from Asia, where the beetle is native. From there, it's thought that they may have spread throughout the eastern U.S. on solid wood packing material from furniture manufactured in China. How they made their way to the West is less clear, but it was probably a combination of the two methods. The emerald ash borer is considered a highly invasive species due to its voracious appetite for ash trees, the lack of predators that can keep their populations under control in the U.S., and the fact that once it arrives, it spreads like wildfire, or should I say wood fire. It turns out that transporting wood products isn't the only thing that gives them a boost. While they can fly fairly long distances on their own, when they hit a snag like a dead end, they don't just turn around and head back the way they came. Instead, they tend to stick around and breed. This makes for denser populations of beetles that can quickly overrun an area, which is another reason for the pest's alarming success. With the help of human activity, EAB spread from its initial point of entry into the U.S. in the Detroit area during the early 2000s. And by 2010, it had spread into 14 states and to Canadian provinces. The rapid spread continued. By 2018, the beetle had been found in 29 states, and by 2023, it was found in 36 states and counting. In some of those states, it was still found only in the northernmost counties. In others, it was pretty much everywhere. One of the worst affected areas is the Ohio Valley, home to the nation's largest ash tree population. The first infestation in this region was identified near Dayton, Ohio in 2003. As of 2023, almost every county in Ohio had positive IDs for EAB. Similarly, the first infestation in Indiana was spotted in 2003. And in 2023, it was found in 93 of Indiana's 92 counties. How bad is the situation really? Well, in 2010, the USDA estimated there were between 700 million and 1 billion ash trees in the U.S. A decade later, it's estimated that 20% of those trees have been lost to invasive pests, including EAB. Some estimates put the number of ash trees lost in the millions. So knowing all that, what can we do to keep the emerald ash borer from causing even more trouble? First of all, detection is important. Early detection and treatment of infestations can make a difference, especially in larger trees. It's not easy to spot infestations though, since damage doesn't appear until a few years after infestation, and the beetle is capable of killing a large mature tree in just a couple of years. When you consider that many ash trees go undetected for years, it's easy to understand why this pest has spread so far and so fast. Often the infestation goes undiscovered until the beetle has already spread to other nearby ash trees and started killing them. Quarantines and regulations at the local and state level help. For instance, the movement of ashwood products from infested areas is restricted. But this hasn't slowed down the emerald ash borer's spread completely, nor has it stopped its spread in all directions. But it has helped to prevent the spread in certain areas. And there are things that you can do too. If you burn firewood, burn it where you buy it. Don't transport it long distances. You can also buy firewood that's been treated to kill any potential invaders. Look for bundles that are labeled as such. Or better yet, find a local supplier that can provide freshly cut wood. You can ask them questions about where it was sourced. This is also a good option for reducing the risk of invasive species because the shorter the distance the wood travels, the less likely it is to harbor invasive critters. As you watch this video, you might be thinking that there are more ash trees than there are beetles. How can it be that the beetles are winning? The answer lies in the life cycle of the beetle. Adult beetles lay their eggs in crevices of ash bark in late summer and early fall. A female can lay up to 100 eggs. The eggs hatch into larvae that spend the winter in groups under the bark. Come spring, they begin feeding on the inner bark. After a few molts, they move to new feeding sites within the tree. The feeding disrupts the flow of water and nutrients throughout the tree, which weakens it and can ultimately kill it. After 2 years of feeding, the larvae are ready to pupate. They tunnel out of the tree and pupate in the soil. Then the cycle starts anew. What began as a single infestation can quickly become hundreds or even thousands of beetles in just a few years. Now, the emerald ash borer is only one of many invasive insects affecting ash trees. Together, they pose a serious threat to the future of ash trees in North America. The silver lining is that there are things we can do to prevent the spread of these insects and help protect the trees we love. Have you noticed any emerald ash borers in your area? Have you taken steps to prevent their spread? Do you have any tips for protecting ash trees from invasive insects? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Have you ever wondered how non-native species end up wreaking havoc on ecosystems and economies around the world? In this video, we'll explore the sneaky ways that invasive pests make their way into the United States, the economic impacts associated with them, and what's being done to stop them. Buckle up because it's gonna be a wild ride. We'll examine the different pathways these invaders take to infiltrate our borders, shedding light on the surprising connections between global trade, agriculture, and the environment. Whether you're an outdoor enthusiast, an import and export business owner, or just curious about the hidden world of invasive species, this video will open your eyes to the surprising ways these organisms make their way into our backyards and waterways. So grab a snack and settle in as we uncover the secrets of invasive pest pathways into the United States. You never know what you might learn. Invasive pests can wreak havoc on our economy, causing millions of dollars in damages to crops, forests, and natural habitats. But how do these unwanted invaders actually get into the country? One of the main pathways for invasive pests to enter the U.S. is through wood packaging and products. This includes items such as crates and pallets used for shipping, as well as logs and untreated lumber products. For example, in 2014, an infestation of the emerald ash borer, a small beetle native to Asia, was discovered in Michigan. It's estimated that this pest has cost the U.S. more than $10 billion in damages to ash trees and control efforts. The beetle was most likely introduced through wood packing material from Asia, where it had been living in large numbers. Another pathway for invasive species to enter the country is through the live plant trade. Many plants sold in the U.S. are grown overseas in countries like China and Vietnam. While they may seem like a great way to add some greenery to your home or garden, they can also be a gateway for invasive pests. In fact, nearly 30% of invasive plant species in the U.S. were first introduced intentionally for things like landscaping or timber production. When these plants are imported, they can carry with them harmful insects, eggs, or diseases that can spread to native plants once they arrive in the U.S. One notorious example is the Asian Longhorned Beetle, which has infested millions of trees across the eastern U.S. Since its discovery in 1996, this beetle has caused over $700 million in damages to forests and urban trees in 14 states. It was likely introduced through infested wood packing material used in shipping furniture and other goods from Asia. But the story doesn't end there. Cargo shipments also play a significant role in introducing invasive species into the United States. For example, in 2007, the U.S. experienced an outbreak of the brown marmorated stink bug, a type of shield bug native to Asia. These bugs can cause significant damage to crops like apples and peaches, as well as pose a threat to a variety of other plants. They most likely arrived in the U.S. through cargo shipments from Asia, hitching a ride on furniture, produce, or other goods. Similarly, ballast water discharged by ships is a major pathway for invasive aquatic species to enter U.S. waters. In fact, more than half of all non-native marine and estuarine species found in the Great Lakes arrived via this method. Ballast water is the water taken on by ships to help stabilize them during transport. And when they travel from one port to another, they can discharge this water, which can contain invasive species into the new location. For instance, in 2011, the European green crab was found in the San Francisco Bay. This crab is known to outcompete native species for food and habitat and can cause significant damage to shellfish beds. It's believed that these crabs arrived in ballast water discharged by ships traveling from Europe. It's important to note that the pathways for invasive pests to enter the country are constantly evolving. For example, online marketplaces have become a popular way to buy and sell plants and other goods. However, this can also be a pathway for invasive species to spread. In recent years, several invasive plant species have been found in the U.S. that were first sold online, such as the highly invasive Brazilian pepper tree. This tree is now found in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina after being sold as a potted plant on online marketplaces. One way to prevent the introduction of invasive pests through the live plant trade is to inspect plants thoroughly before they enter the country. Trained inspectors can look for signs of pests or diseases and take action to prevent their spread. Additionally, regulating the types of plants that can be imported can help limit the risk of introducing new invasive species. By working together, governments, businesses, and individuals can help protect the U.S. from the threats posed by invasive pests. Another pathway for invasive pests to enter the U.S. is through the pet and aquarium trade. People who want to add exotic pets or plants to their homes may purchase them from international suppliers without realizing that they could also be bringing in an invasive species. For example, in 2018, the U.S. imported over 12 million ornamental fish from international suppliers. While many of these fish are harmless, others, such as the Asian carp, can grow to massive sizes and outcompete native fish for resources. Several species of these carp have been found in the U.S., and they've caused significant ecological and economic damage. Similarly, the pet trade has been responsible for introducing several invasive reptiles and amphibians into the U.S. In Texas, the non-native green iguana has become a common sight after being released or escaping from private collections. These iguanas can cause extensive damage to gardens and property and also pose a risk to native wildlife. When it comes to preventing invasive species from entering the country through the pet and aquarium trade, regulations can play an important role. By requiring permits for the import of certain species and enforcing penalties for those who violate these regulations, authorities can help prevent the introduction of harmful invasive pests. Public education campaigns can also raise awareness about the potential risks of keeping non-native pets and encourage people to make responsible choices when purchasing exotic animals. It is crucial to remember that every individual can make a difference in preventing the spread of invasive species. By taking responsibility for our actions and making informed choices, we can all help protect the delicate balance of our ecosystems and ensure a healthier future for our planet. Another pathway for invasive species to enter the United States is through firewood movement. Although it's a common practice for people to transport firewood for personal use, it can have unintended consequences. For example, the emerald ash borer has been known to infest and kill ash trees in areas where infested firewood has been transported. To prevent the spread of invasive species through firewood, it's important to follow strict guidelines. These include purchasing firewood from local suppliers, never transporting firewood across state lines, and ensuring that all wood is properly dried and treated. By following these guidelines, we can help protect our forests and ecosystems from harmful invasive pests. And finally, recreational watercraft and equipment can also be culprits when it comes to transporting invasive aquatic species. Boats, fishing gear, and trailers can pick up invasive species in one waterway and transport them to another. For example, zebra mussels have been known to attach to boat hulls and are often transported to new waterways through this method. These mussels can cause significant damage to native species and clog water intake pipes. To prevent the spread of invasive species through recreational watercraft, it is important to take preventive measures such as draining all water from the boat before moving it to a new waterway, inspecting the boat for any signs of invasive species, and cleaning the boat thoroughly to remove any debris or organisms that may be attached to it. By taking these precautions, we can all help protect our waterways from the threat of invasive species. In conclusion, understanding the pathways through which invasive pests enter the United States is crucial in protecting our economy and environment. From wood packaging and products to cargo shipments, live plant trade, pet and aquarium trade, firewood movement, recreational watercraft and equipment, each pathway presents unique challenges. Addressing these pathways requires a multifaceted approach involving government agencies, businesses, and individuals, implementing stricter regulations, increasing public awareness, and adopting best practices for international trade can significantly reduce the risk of invasive pest introductions. By working together, we can safeguard our valuable ecosystems and prevent the costly damages associated with invasive species. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to stay tuned for more videos on invasive species. Until next time, happy adventuring!